Okay, dear Venerable Brother, Venerable Sisters, Dhamma friends. So we have come to the third question and answer session. So Mr. Ananda is ready with the written questions and reports. So we'll start the session with written questions.
Thank you, Bhante. And welcome to everyone, all the Dhamma friends from all over the world to Tranquil Jhana Grove. And it's before I, today is the 24th, which is Monday. Before I, with your permission, Bhante, may I please take a half a minute to mention a few words about Jhana Grove?
Right. Some marketing.
Some marketing. Probably most of our friends know about this, but this Jhana Grove is the brainchild of Most Venerable Ajahn Brahmansa Maha Thero, and this was started without much funds in the bank account, but the funds started to flow, and even though he is a monk for 50 years, even today he is on the subcommittee of Jhana Grove, making sure that everything is taken care of for our own benefit. So we pay our respect and reverence to Ajahn Brahmansa Maha Thero. And also, not only this is the brainchild, there are two bhikkhunis here. Dhammasara is also the brainchild of Ajahn Brahmansa Maha Thero, and for the practice of ladies, the Dhamma. So that too was started in 1996, the bank account, with about $100. Today it is a thriving community. Today it is a thriving community of bhikkhunis, thanks to Ajahn Brahmansa Maha Thero. And so I actually not merits. He is beyond merits. He doesn't need merits. He has gone beyond merits. Deeds don't have any clinging. He does deeds, but they don't have any karmic consequences for him. So we don't say we pay merits to him. We say we pay reverence and respect. And to you, Bhante, as well, for coming and teaching us the Jhana Grove. So may I please take...
Sure, yeah.
Today also there are 7 questions.
Right.
And seems to be a good number. Yesterday was also 7 questions. The first question, dear Venerable Bhante, I practice Anapanasati meditation. How do we move on to Vidarshana from that? Please advise. Thero Sarana.
Yeah. So actually it can happen naturally. Say for example, if you start with Anapanasati, so as we continue, you may be able to pay attention to each and every breath. So we start with very basics, like being mindful of in-breath, being mindful of out-breath. So that is very much the conventional way that Buddha is telling. So sato asa sati, sato passa sati. And then as we continue, we actually, it depends on the yogi. Some yogis tends to develop more into the concentration side, samadhi side, and some others actually to the vipassana side. But anyway, if I refer the typical Anapanasati Sutta and the Satipatthana Sutta, so their emphasis is given to some extent once the mindfulness is established to recognize various characteristics. Say once you are fairly familiar with each and every breath, you can continue for about 100 breaths to 100 breaths continuously. That indicates that fair amount of concentration is available, mindfulness is available. And at that level, actually, you can recognize what are the subtle characteristics of breathing. So in-breath and out-breath are different. They are not similar. Maybe in-breath is longer, out-breath is shorter. In-breath is maybe cooler, out-breath is warmer. So likewise, some subtle characteristics are there, differences are there. So we encourage the yogis to look at those differences. And later, probably you can understand, even though these in-breaths appear like very similar, there can be even differences. Say the previous in-breath, when compared to the present in-breath, it could be longer or shorter. Previous out-breath, when compared to the present out-breath, it may be longer or shorter. So likewise, comparatively, you can understand certain differences between breaths, 2 consecutive breaths. And so that is kind of a reflective ability that we are developing. So this is not that we are thinking, rather we have to pay close attention to these subtle characteristics of breathing, and there we are recognizing these small aspects, subtle aspects, refined aspects of breathing. And maybe you can recognize from which nostril it is going in, from which nostril it is going out, and where it is exactly touching. So this is how actually we are growing what we call the sampajanya, the clear comprehension. Previously what we had is just kind of mindfulness. Now, more than mindfulness, now we are incorporating clear comprehension to the object what we have been mindful. Now we are recognizing these subtle aspects. So that actually further leads to recognize whether it's the beginning of the in-breath, middle of the in-breath, end of the in-breath, and this is the beginning of the out-breath, middle of the out-breath, end of the out-breath. So likewise, now we are fully aware of the complete cycle of breathing. Actually, Buddha mentioned on such level, you have to maintain fair amount of restraint. You can't think this and that in order to achieve this. So you have to have a fair kind of samadhi, fair amount of concentration in order to recognize all these subtle aspects of the whole breathing cycle. And as a result of that, the breathing may calms down. Pasambhayam kaya sankhara. So the breathing calms down. So at that level, are we able to maintain that state? So if one maintains that, so there are few possibilities available. So for certain yogis, naturally this rupture can happen, and goosebumps can happen, various other sensations can happen. So naturally for such yogi, actually he or she can move towards the elements meditation. And on the other hand, where you recognize all these rupture, these various subtle sensations as the characteristics of maybe as feeling. Mostly maybe we can refer as feelings, as mentioned in the Anapanasati Sutta, Piti Patisangvedi, Sukha Patisangvedi, where Buddha mentioned them as kind of aspects of feelings. That is the happy feelings, pleasurable feelings. So these rapturous type of feelings, now you are step back and looking at objectively. So that is, in a way, we can say we are moving more towards the vipassana. It is no more that we expect these pleasurable feelings to continue, or we are not promoting them. Rather, we are very much observing them, investigating them, in order to have some kind of an understanding. And as we move forward, then probably those sensations also may, those feelings also may calm down. And maybe now you can look at even the mind. Chitta Patisangvedi. That is the third section of the Anapanasati Sutta, where the third quadrant, where Chitta Patisangvedi. You are now recognizing various thoughts. Now we are in the Chittanupassana. So now as we move forward, very much into Vipassana. Now already in Vipassana. And on the other hand, to certain other yogis, actually when you are recognizing breathing at initial stage, say you can get into, say once a fair amount of concentration is available, which happen through mindfulness of breathing, now automatically various other sensations throughout the body might appear. So there's a kind of a path opening naturally. It might not be pleasurable, but kind of tingling sensations, and here and there different kinds of itching and etc. So if you are capable, probably now you can switch from Anapanasati to elements meditation and you can continue. So then we are continuing with the elements meditation, Dhatu Manasikara. From Anapanasati we have switched to this Dhatu Manasikara. So likewise many methods are there. So depending on the yogi, we have to select which path you are leading. So as we discuss, we can recognize, how things are going on. Accordingly, we can guide. Accordingly, we can continue. So little bit different from the traditional Ajahn Brahm's teachings, so to say, because he encouraged getting to jhana and go to deeper concentrations. But here, actually, in ourselves, so we basically teach to come to certain amount of concentration. That is must. But once it is enough, now automatically various sensations are happening within the body. And as I said, maybe pleasurable sensations are happening. And then automatically we can shift to recognize those things as the factors of feelings, factors of, say, elements. And then we can continue in the Vipassana path. Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah, yeah.
And before I go to written questions,
right.
One of the yogis came to me at the last moment and said very important question. This yogi actually, I may say, part of the organization committee as well, and asked me to request you to say some few words or some advice on the noble silence. And because the retreat is based on the substratum of the retreat is on the noble silence.
Right.
If the noble silence breaks, retreat will fall.
Right.
We all will fall. So I think I was requested to make this request.
Good. Yeah. So I think you all heard. So please try to be silent because it's true. Because if we are too distracted, then it is very difficult to come back and to settle, especially when we are as beginners, when we are developing ourselves. So it's a must to maintain noble silence. Yes.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah. Maybe you can give the mic.
I hope you don't mind me butting in, okay? I don't want to be like this. In the fruit of interrupting.
Like Karpatika, right?
And irritating people one day. Actually, I just thought I made a comment about the recommendation.
Right.
Like there is a portion of people who don't actually see the breath, and that's when Burmese, have the abdominal. Because there is a proportion of people who don't feel the breath in the nose. So I just thought you might just like to
add that.
Add that in to this particular person who question, because if they feel the breath in the nose, that's fine. But otherwise, they can.
Other possibilities are available. Exactly. That's very correct. Actually, now, if we think that Anapanasati is the only technique, that is not the correct thing. So various other techniques are available. Now, if you see the walking meditation, it's completely different approach. And Buddha recommended that highly recommended. And it is with open eyes, while others are also walking around, and again, we are purposely walking. And while all these distractions things are available, how we are capable of maintaining our attention to each and every sensation. So that is very interesting. And Buddha gives actually in one sutta called Chankamana Nisansa Sutta in Anguttara Nikaya Panchaka Nipata. So he mentioned about 5 benefits of walking meditation. The first benefit is Adhana Kamo Hoti. So, if you are familiar with walking meditation, so it won't be a big challenge for you to walk long distances. Because say the typically walking path is about 30-40 feet. And if you are regularly practicing walking meditation, say for about 1 hour, if you do like that, it's a long distance. Now, if you happen to go in a long distance, travel by your own using walking, it won't be a big challenge. So the very basic advantage Buddha recommend there, mention there is that Adhana Kamo Hoti. And the second one he mentioned is the Padhana Kamo Hoti, where, walking is a kind of a challenge. Now here, if I see in the sitting session, so it's a fairly silent and excellent kind of a environment is available for a kind of a samatha practice. But about walking, quite different. Say it's completely outside. Maybe while others are available and you can see various things, hear a lot of noise and smells also coming. And when all these things are available, how are you going to pay attention to the selected object? So it's quite challenging. So it requires fair amount of dedication, fair amount of, overcoming all those difficulties and paying attention to that selected object. So there Buddha mentioned you are now preparing yourself for a kind of a higher goal. Padhana Kamo Hoti. Now Padhana Kamo Hoti means whatever the difficulties come along in your path, you are capable of overcoming them. So you are ready to achieve that goal, irrespective of the difficulties that you come across. So such kind of a, preparation is done through walking meditation. Then Buddha mentioned, asite, pite, kaite, saite, samma parinamang gacchati. So whatever we ate, whatever we drank, so everything go through proper digestion. Now say for example, after lunch, after breakfast, if you do this walking practice, so it improves your, metabolization, right? So improves your metabolization. So that is the next benefit Buddha mentioned. Now as a result of that, you improves your health. So that is the fourth benefit Buddha mentioned. That is mentioned as appabado hoti. So you become very healthy. If one is practicing walking meditation for a long time, so your body becomes lighter and you are more active person and your metabolization is pretty good. And even though, again, now it is found that you become more grounded, well earthed, and what is that called? Nila, what's the English term? Sorry? Pressure points. Yeah, pressure points being massaged. So likewise, there are many health benefits available, and therefore Buddha mentioned appabado hoti. So you become more healthy person. And the last, last is not the last one, but anyway, the fifth benefit mentioned in this particular sutta is chankamadi gato samaji tirattitiko hoti. And the concentration, the collectedness of the mind that you gain through walking meditation lasts for a long time. Because here now, say for example, you develop some amount of concentration within this very controlled environment. Once you get up, once you go out, it might break. But when you develop kind of a concentration, collectedness of the mind through walking meditation, challenges you can bear. Because you already developed that thing within such a kind of challenging environment. So if you are capable of doing that, then it is lasting for a long time. So therefore, that is the fifth benefit Buddha mentioned. And you can refer various other suttas. So many encouragement is given. So continue with walking, continue with sitting, and recognizing various thoughts happening in your mind and discarding them. So it's a kind of a more natural practice. If you consider, say, sitting, so fairly a kind of a, I would say, a little bit of an artificial kind of a posture. But walking is quite natural. So therefore, Buddha recommends that. And allowing, now as you continue, even while walking, you can look at the mind. You can do Chittanupassana while walking. So simply the body is walking, but you are more aware of the various thoughts happening in your mind. So likewise, many benefits are there. So therefore, it is not merely Anapanasati as she mentioned. So many other techniques are available to start your practice, continue your practice. And as she mentioned, the Burmese techniques of this rising and falling of the abdomen, it's another technique, directly taking you to Vipassana, to elements meditation. So many methods are there. Yeah.
May I add?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. One thing on the Anapanasati, one thing that I have noticed, Bhante, is when you wear a mask, the breath is very prominent. Actually, the breath is very prominent. And you can easily, even a yogi who finds the breath very subtle and can't identify. In fact, in the early days here, Ajahn Brahm used to say, wear an eye mask if you have any doubts about the nimitta. So that you know definitely that it is nimitta. Because your eyes are closed. And because you know that it is not a visual object, it's a mental object.
Right.
Similarly, if you wear a mask, seriously, it's very prominent. So if you find it very difficult to feel the breath, be a mask wearer. Okay, second one, I got this little book from Bhante Dhammajiva about 10 years ago on walking meditation. It's a very nice book. I must say, Bhante told me that it was written by not properly written, but on the basis of Most Venerable Matri Sri Jnanarama Mahathero's advice. Bhante told me that he was editing that little book.
Correct.
That was the copy that he gave.
Sakman Bhavanav.
Sakman Bhavanav.
Yeah,
it's a very tiny booklet.
Yes.
And it is very useful if you can find that booklet.
Yeah, it is available in the Nissarana website. It's available. So it's freely download. You can download freely. Yeah.
There is a similar, afterwards I got another similar, exactly the same size, 3 articles on about 10 pages almost, by Venerable Ajahn Ram, Venerable Ajahn Jnanadhammo, and who is now in Thailand, and also another Chinese monk. So these 2 little books are very useful I found it very useful. What Bhante Dhammajiva gave me was very useful to me.
Right.
Yeah. This 4 points of mindfulness on the body, feelings,
right.
mind, and thoughts. Are they happening one after the other when the meditation gets advanced?
Correct.
It goes from one to the other?
Yes.
Or you select?
No. It may naturally evolve. So even within single session, it may slowly evolve to the next one. So you may start with, say, as a beginner, paying attention to the posture and maybe recognizing, say, breathing, etc. But naturally, then it may turn into various feelings. Maybe now naturally you are looking at what are the thoughts available, and so the clarity of those thoughts become more clearer and clearer. So now already in Dhammanupassana. So very natural evolution happens. At the beginning you can't, because you are not familiar with everything. But as we continue, you become familiar with Kayanupassana. Now you add familiarity to the Vedananupassana. Now you add familiarity to the Chittanupassana. So likewise, things are flowing more natural way.
It's not that we select that I do Chittanupassana now.
Actually, as you are sort of confident, you can, it depends on the situation. Now say, if mind is fairly mindful and you are able to maintain some clarity of mind, now without going through Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, you can immediately do Chittanupassana and maybe shift naturally to Dhammanupassana. And no need to go to Kayanupassana or Vedananupassana at that level, because you are more confident and you can easily recognize various thoughts happening in the mind, and you are very sure that you won't get carried away by thoughts. So therefore, it depends on the situation. And certain other days, say for example, too many things have happened, a lot of stressful things are there, so mind is kind of cloudy. At that time, better go to Kayanupassana and sort of build up further amount of mindfulness. And once ready, you can go to Chittanupassana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question.
Right.
This is one in Sinhala, short one. Thiruvan Saranai Swamin Wahanse. Number 1, Dhatu Manasikare Sidu Karana Akare Vipassanawa Dakwa Ketiyen Vistara Kara Denna. Number 2, Sotapatta Vima Yanu Bhavanave Kavara Tattwayakda. Man Bhavanawa Tulinda e Sakshat Kala Hakida. Pahadili Kara Denna. Wahanse to Utumma Nivana Sakshat. I will give a very brief.
We'll first talk first one, yeah.
Yeah. The first one is, could you please explain the element reflection briefly?
Yeah, actually that ඒක ඇත්තටම සෑහෙන වැදගත් ප්‍රශ්නයක්. කොහොමද අපි ධාතු මනසිකාරය වඩන්න සූදානම් වෙන්නේ කියන එක. දැන් මතක් කරගත්තා වගේ දැන් අපි තුමු කෙනෙකුට ආනාපාන සතිය අමාරු වෙලා එයා පටන් ගත්තොත් එහෙම අපි තුමු මේ උදරයේ පිම්බීම හැකිලිම කියන ක්‍රමය දැන් ඒක දිගට කරගෙන යනකොට එයාට පුළුවන් වෙනවා මේ වෙලාවේදී පිම්බීමක් මේ වෙලාවේදී හැකිලීමක් කියලා හොඳට අර සාමාන්‍ය විදිහට අපි ආශ්වාසයක් ප්‍රශ්වාසයක් කියලා කරනවා වගේම මේක පිම්බීමක් හැකිලීමක් කියලා කරනවා. ඒක කොහොම කරගෙන යනකොට මනසේ යම්කිසි සංසිඳීමක් ඇති වෙනවා. මනස ටිකක් එකඟ වෙනවා. පිම්බීමක් ගානේ අවධානය පවත්වන්න පුළුවන්. හැකිලීමක් ගානේ අවධානය පවත්වන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ තත්ත්වයට එනවා. දැන් ඕක තව එහාට යනකොට ඒක කියන්නේ තනි ඒ කියන්නේ පිම්බීම වචනේ කියන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. හැකිලීම වචනේ කියන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. කොහොම සංසුම් මනසකින් මේ පිම්බීමක් ගානේ බලන්න පුළුවන්. හැකිලීමක් ගානේ බලන්න පුළුවන්. ඕක තවත් එහාට යනකොට මේක සමහර විට නිකන් කැඩිලා පේන්න පුළුවන්. තනි පිම්බීමක් නෙමෙයි. මෙතන කුඩා කුඩා පිම්බීම් රාශියක්. තනි හැකිලීමක් නෙමෙයි. මෙතන කුඩා කුඩා හැකිලීම් රාශියක්. ඊට පිම්බීමක් කියලා කියන්නේ එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි කියමු චලන රාශියක්. අපි අර පිම්බීමක් කියලා තනි එකක් විදිහට ඒක ඝණයක් විදිහට අල්ලපු එක දැන් Tamanට පේන්න පුළුවන් නෑ මේක ඒක ඝණයක් නෙමෙයි. එකක් කියලා එකක් නෙමෙයි. නැහැ මෙතන. එතන තියෙන කුඩා කුඩා චලන රාශියක්. මේ පැත්තට චලන රාශියක් අනිත් පැත්ත ඊළඟට ආයෙත් තව චලන රාශියක්. අපි තුමු පිම්බීම පටන් ගනිද්දී එක විදිහක් ඊට අවසානයේ වෙද්දී ඔන්න නිකන් තද වෙලා වගේ තදවීමකින් අවසන් වීමක්. ආපහු වෙනකොට නිකන් හැකිලීම් කියන එක ඊට පස්සේ නිකන් බුරුල් වීම රාශියකින් සෙලවීම රාශියකින් ඇවිල්ලා අවසන් වීමක්. ඔය වගේ අර අපි මේ බලන දෘෂ්ටි කෝණය වෙනස් වෙනවා බොහොම ප්‍රාථමික මට්ටමේ දැනීම් පද්ධතියකට. දැන් අපි මුලදී හිතන්නේ මේවා නිකන් තනිකර අපි දන්න වචන වලින් සංකල්ප වලින් ඒ සංකල්ප ඉක්මවා ගිහිල්ලා දැන් අර වචනයක්වත් අවශ්‍ය නැති භාෂාවක්වත් අවශ්‍ය නැති අතිශය ප්‍රාථමික මට්ටමේ ඍජු අත්දැකීම් සම්භාරයක් බවට මේකපත් වෙනවා. ඉතින් එතකොට ඇත්තටම තියෙන්නේ මේ ධාතු ලක්ෂණ තමයි. දැන් පඨවි ධාතුවේ නම් ලක්ෂණ 6ක් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කතා කරනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ තද ගතිය, මෘදු ගතිය, ඊළඟට සැහැල්ලු ගතිය, බර ගතිය, ගොරෝසු ගතිය, සිනිඳු ගතිය. ඊළඟට තේජෝ ධාතුවේ නම් උණුසුම සිසිල. ඊළඟට වායෝ ධාතුවේ චලනය වීම, කම්පණය වීම, හොඳට නිකන් දරා සිටීම, ඒ වගේ පැති. ඊළඟට ආපෝ ධාතුවේ පිඬු කරන ගතිය, ගලා යන ගතිය. එතකොට මෙන්න මේ ලක්ෂණ ටික මතු කරගන්න එක තමයි එතකොට මේ ධාතු මනසිකාරයේ මුල්ම අවස්ථාව. ඒතර අපි ඒ ලක්ෂණ ටික හොඳට යෝගාවචරයට වැටහෙනවා නම් අපි ඒකට කියනවා ඉන්ඩිවිජුවල් කැරක්ටරිස්ටික්ස් කියලා. නැත්නම් අපි කියමු පෞද්ගලික ලක්ෂණ. මේ පෞද්ගලික ලක්ෂණ ටික හඳුනා ගැනීම තමයි මේකේ ප්‍රථම පියවර. ඊට පස්සේ මේ පෞද්ගලික ලක්ෂණ ටික හොඳට මතු කරගෙන ඒක අත්දකිමින්. දැන් එතකොට මේක ඉඳගෙනත් පුළුවන්, හිටගෙනත් පුළුවන්, ඇවිදින්නත් පුළුවන්. ඕනම ඉරියව්වක දැන් මේ ටික මතු වෙනවා යාට. අවධානය කායට යමුනහම මේ ටික මතු වෙනවා. ඒකට ඒවා දිහා හොඳට නිරීක්ෂණය කරනවා. ඉතින් එතකොට එයාට ඒ දිහා පෞද්ගලික ලක්ෂණ හොඳට නිරීක්ෂණය කරමින් ඉන්නකොට ඒක ස්වාභාවිකවම එයාට මේවා තියෙන සංකත ලක්ෂණ වලට පැතිරීමක් වෙනවා. නැත්නම් ඒක නිකන් වෙනසක් බවටපත් වෙනවා. ඒ සංකත ලක්ෂණ බුදුහාඳුරු තුනක් වෙනවා. උපාදෝ පඤ්ඤායති, වයෝ පඤ්ඤායති, තිතස්සඤ්ඤතත්තම් පඤ්ඤායති. ඒතර මේ පෞද්ගලික ලක්ෂණ නිරීක්ෂණයේ දෙවෙනි ප්‍රතිඵලය තමයි මෙන්න මේ සංකත ලක්ෂණ ටික මතුවීම. එයාට යම් අවබෝධයක් ඒවා සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඇතිවීම. ඒක තවදුරටත් බලාගෙන යනකොට තමයි එයාට මේ ත්‍රිලක්ෂණය අවබෝධ වෙන්න ගන්න. මෙතන තියෙන අනිත්‍ය ලක්ෂණයක්, දුක්ඛ ලක්ෂණයක්, අනාත්ම ලක්ෂණයක් අවබෝධ වෙන්න ගන්න ඊළඟ පියවර වශයෙන්. ඒක තව දිගට එහාට යනකොට තමයි නොයෙකුත් අන්දමේ විපස්සනා ඥාන පද්ධතියක්. ඉතින් එක තැනත්තාට අනුව ඉතින් පහළ වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඔන්න ඔය වගේ ලස්සන ප්‍රතිපදාවක් තියෙනවා ධාතු මනසිකාරයේ. ඉතින් ඒක තමයි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ පිම්බීම හැකිරීම පැත්තෙන් පටන් ගත්තත් අර මම කලින් කිව්වා වගේ ආනාපාන සතිය ඔස්සේ ටිකක් දුර ගිහිල්ලා හිතේ යම්කිසි එකඟතාවයක් ඇති වෙනකොට කය තුලින් ඉබේටම වගේ විවිධ ලක්ෂණ මතුවෙන්න අරගෙන ඊට පස්සේ ආ ධාතු මනසිකාරයට යොමු වුණත් කොයිකෙත් එකයි. ඒකම වගේ රටාවක් තියෙනවා. So what I was mentioning about the elements meditation, so basically if you are starting with rising and falling of the abdomen, so it's a kind of a natural effect. As we breathing in, the rising happens. As we breathe out, falling happens. So you can recognize each rising and each falling, as we do in Anapanasati. And as we continue, your attention comes through the body, and you are being more collected, and each rising and each falling you can now recognize. And as you continue, your clear comprehension improves. Probably rather than seeing one rising, now you can see a little sequence of risings, a collection of risings. And rather than see a single falling, probably you can see a collection of fallings. Now that whole scenario becomes kind of divided into small parts. So that indicates that you have more improved attention, fairly clear comprehension, and your mindfulness has sharpened and concentration has sharpened. As a result of that, these subtle sensations are more evident for you. And as you continue, then we end up with what we call as the individual characteristics of the elements. So for example, Buddha mentioned the 4 elements: Patavi Dhatu, Apo Tejo Vayo, that is earth, water, fire, and air. So the earth element has typically 6 characteristics, like say hardness, softness, lightness, heaviness, grossness, smoothness. So these are the typical characteristics of the earth element. And then water element is where the fluidity is available and the cohesion is available. And then say air element, kind of vibrations, movements. So those are the air characteristics. And then the heat element is where the heat and the cold. So those are the two characteristics. Now, when we are going to this Dhatu Manasikara, so the first stage, or we can say the one level, is that to recognize all these subtle elements characteristics. So it's a must. So even though we start from any other method, so we have to reach this stage, recognizing each individual characteristics. I mean, it doesn't mean that we all have to comprehensively understand everything. As much as possible, one can understand all these different elements characteristics. And when you are there, you don't need any language to know that. I mean, previously we were using language and various concepts. Now you have come to a very primary kind of fundamental characteristics. So those are the elements characteristics. And as you continue, so these elements characteristics, individual characteristics, will evolve to what we call as the Sankata Lakkana, but momentary characteristics. So irrespective of the name, so all these different condition phenomena have those common momentary characteristics. The arising, passing away, and in between changing. So this is very common to everything, every condition phenomena, Sankata Lakkana. And yogi may naturally recognize these things. So as you are recognizing different element characteristics, so now you are simply observing them carefully. As a result of that careful observation, you will understand these the momentary characteristics, Sankata Lakkana. How they are arising, how they are changing, how they are passing away. So that is it. So that is Buddha mentioned in the one sutta, Sankata Lakkana Sutta. Tinimani bhikkave sankatani sankata lakkanani uppado panyayati vayo panyayati titassa anyatattam panyayati. Monks, there are three characteristics you can recognize in whatever the condition phenomena. You can recognize the arising part, you can recognize the passing away part, and in between continuous change. So as you continue, then it will lead to further understanding of impermanence, suffering, and non-self. And as you continue further, then various other vipassana knowledges are happening. So this is the typical methodology involved in the Dhatu Manasikara or elements meditation. So actually we highly recommend that, and most of the time, say at Nissarana and various other Mahasi centers, so this is being used as one of the, say, important methods. Yeah.
Bhante, the second part of the question.
Right.
Is Sotapanna vima yanu bhavanave kawara tattvayakda? Sakman bhavanaව තුළින් ඒ සාක්ෂාත් කළ හැකිද? පැහැදිලි කර දෙන්න. Briefly in English, at what stage of meditation does the stream entry happen? Could that be realized through the walking meditation? Kindly explain. May you attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
So probably we can wait till the Dhamma sermon. So because Dhamma sermon has some information about it, I like to add that some components related to that answer to the Dhamma sermon. So you have to wait.
Okay, yeah, please ask something about the Dhatu Manasikara.
Yeah.
Very minor question. In the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya, 140
right.
And Buddha mentions about 6 types of
Elements. Yes.
I think Akasa Dhatu and
the
Vijnana
Vijnana Dhatu. Yeah.
But they are not taken into
in this Dhatu Manasikara. No, thing is, now the explanation about Buddha in the Dhatu, the elements, explanation in Buddha in the aggregates, and again explanation within the ayatanas. So these are different ways of explanations. So in the Dhatu, the more prominence is given to the physical characteristics. Say, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Akasa, these are all material. And only 1/6 is available for the mentality. That is Vijnana Dhatu. If you consider, say, Khanda, aggregates, so 4 out of 5 are mental. That is Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. So 4 out of 5 are mostly mental, and only 1 material, form aggregate. And if you consider Ayatana, there again we can say kind of an interaction. Internal say sense organs are there corresponding external objects are there. So kind of another way of explanation. Now, in the Dhatu Manasikara, typically we take the more to the physical, gross kind of elements, characteristics, and we don't usually do Vipassana on Akasa Dhatu or Vijnana Dhatu. But the thing is, naturally, as one continue elements meditation, he may naturally, it can shift to Vedananupassana. So therefore, that's why, we don't need to strict to Dhatu Manasikara, because Dhatu Manasikara happens in the Kayanupassana level. If you refer Satipatthana Sutta, now in Satipatthana Sutta, Buddha mentioned only 4 elements, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, and we are using that in the Kayanupassana level. Kayanupassana is the one dealing with the form aggregate. And later, as you develop it naturally, it may shift to Vedananupassana. Now we are dealing in the feelings aggregate. And further, as we just discussed, it may shift to Chittanupassana. Now we are dealing in the various other mental aggregates. So likewise, it's a kind of a natural flow. Even though we talk here only the physical characteristics or the material characteristics, it doesn't mean that the yogi has to continuously stick to that. He may evolve to the other levels, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, etc. It's a natural evolution. So that's why all 4 Satipatthanas are there. So it's available. So all 4 Satipatthanas are available. So we naturally, gradually move to other areas as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. And this is the next question. Venerable Bhante, in the last 2 Q&A sessions, there were many discussions related to a boring state of mind. I am experiencing the same for a couple of years now.
Couple of years. Master in boredom.
Sitting meditation. I do less sitting meditation, but when I do, I could see below. A, my breath prominent. B, vibration spread all over body. C, 5 hindrances arising / thoughts. D, boring state. My mind automatically change as above, and I just watch them, and I don't try to force any change. Walking meditation. I could see my feet touching the ground, and sometimes I could see every step, but sometimes feel vibrations, and sometimes thoughts disturbs. Today's activities, I could experience all the stages above in my day-to-day's life, as it is like an automatic process now, where I cannot interfere. That is how I feel. Oh, there is another page. My question is about the samadhi that can be during these stages of meditation. Earlier, samadhis comes and lasted for like 5 to 10 minutes when I am meditating or simply resting at home, eyes closed. Recently, I am experiencing samadhi in my body when eyes are open. Once it lasted for like half an hour while listening to a Dhamma talk. These samadhis are rewarding compared to the boring states. If this boring state is the default or upeksha state of the mind, where Buddha advised us to experience, could you please explain what these vipassana samadhis are? These are different from samatha samadhi as these comes from the body. I have experienced nimittas before, and it can be experienced from mind only when eyes are closed. Could you please clarify and correct me if there are any misunderstandings? Thero and Sarana.
Yeah, very interesting. So may I know who has written it? Oh? Okay. Okay, good. Now, actually there's a significant difference between the typical Samatha Samadhi and the Vipassana Samadhi as you experience at this level. So typically, say, even at the level of observation, say different, now we just explained about various sensations. Now, when you see arising and passing away of various sensations, there alone you can have a kind of a samadhi. That is Vipassana Samadhi. It is not Samatha Samadhi, because here the things are continuously changing and you are constantly understanding arising and passing away. The full observation is happening. So sometimes we call them as Vipassana Jhana. So as we call in the Samatha Jhana, there are Vipassana Jhanas are also available. And there are, certain kind of comparisons, arguments about these areas anyway. Now in the Vipassana also, as you continue, you become more, it is not that you doing it, rather mind slowly recognize each and every phenomena, understand its features, and then go to another phenomena, understand its features, do the investigation. So likewise, and naturally it is getting involved. So it's also samadhi. And later, now as a result of understanding all these different characteristics, mind naturally may let go of everything and can become free. As we discussed yesterday, we can refer it as anisita state, where mind does not associate anything, does not grasp anything. So as you continue, it may evolve either to, it depends on from which path actually you came from. Now, if your understanding of impermanence is more prominent, then release of mind can happen through what we call as the animitta samadhi, the signless concentration. And if your understanding about the suffering is more prominent, then the opening of mind can happen through appanihita samadhi, what we call as the desireless concentration. And if your understanding about non-self is more prominent, an opening of mind can happen through sunyata samadhi, what we call as the emptiness concentration. Now these are all, we can say, kind of vipassana. So, the important thing is, here, when your mind is open, either using any of these three, there is no object. In the samatha, you have to have a kind of an object. So you are associating an object. Your mind rests or stands on an object. But in vipassana, there is nothing. Your mind is fully open, free. There is nothing to hold. So there is no object. So therefore, as we continue in the vipassana side, it's very much like objectless kind of samadhi we are talking. Animitta, sunyata, appanihita. So those are very much into that area. And it can lead to further complete opening of the mind. There is no boundary into that kind of a samadhi. It may evolve kind of, to the whole universe like that. Then it is called what we call as the Cheto Vimutti. Animitta Cheto Vimutti, Appanihita Cheto Vimutti, Sunyata Cheto Vimutti. So those are more and more expanded kind of, you start with samadhi, which is somewhat limited, and later it may grow, expand to the whole universe, something like that. So then it is no boundary. It's a kind of a boundless kind of a samadhi. So therefore, there's a significant difference between a typical samatha samadhi and the vipassana samadhi. And there are ranges of vipassana samadhi. It's not all the vipassana samadhis are boundless, but we just discussed as you continue, the more and more it is a kind of a boundless samadhi. So is that the only question that?
There was something about walking meditation. That was about sitting meditation.
Right.
Walking meditation, I could see my feet touching the ground, and sometimes I could see every step, but sometimes feel vibrations. Is this the one? Yeah. The vibrations. Sometimes thoughts disturbs. Then today's activities,
I could experience all the stages above in my day-to-day, which you
Right.
covered.
Yeah. So I think for you, so are you capable of? Can you pass the mic? How long are you able to maintain that kind of unassociated state without any clinging?
I think early when I close my eyes, it automatically comes back 5-10 minutes.
Right.
And not it doesn't have to be a meditation. It can be at home.
Right.
And then I could.
Is it? If I interrupt you, does it happen when you are more relaxed?
Relaxed. Yes.
Okay, good. For how long are you meditating?
Like every day.
No. From the beginning, how many years? Like?
Maybe like 15 years.
15 years? Okay. Okay, good. Right.
So, nearly.
Yeah, no, correct. Now, in sitting nowadays, what are you doing?
So in sitting, when I just sit and then I don't try to look at an object now.
Correct.
I did lots of breath meditation with Nissarana and everything.
Correct.
And now I sit. So sometimes the first thing I have to take my breath automatically I have to sleep on.
Right.
And sometimes my body sensation. And sometimes, of course, thoughts disturb and other thoughts away.
Right.
But still, I don't try to come back anything because I see that it comes back again.
Correct. To the breath.
Yeah, I could see the breath like.
Now you can let go of the breathing. You don't need to use breathing anymore. You can simply watch the mind.
It automatically happens. It comes straight away to the breath without me focusing.
Right.
And then it goes to the other.
Goes to the other stuff.
It's like goes from stages to stages, and I just.
So you are fully aware of the whole process.
Yes.
Okay. So the thing is, there's a small matter because sometimes if the concentration is too high, then we don't need that kind of a very deep concentrations at this level. What we need is a fair amount of clarity of the mind. So the concentration evolves as a kind of a collectedness, kind of a clarity of the mind, where you can carefully recognize each and every defilement. Say, for example, previously when, say, anger arises, so if our clarity of mind is less and the mindfulness is less, so anger has to increase to some extent, then only we would recognize it. But later, as our mindfulness improves, as our clarity of mind improves, even the first thought of anger, we are easily able to recognize. So likewise, so the clarity of mind is the one which is more important than being in a deeper concentration at this level. Because it's a kind of a purification process now we have to continue, and not just being in a concentrated state. Time to time, if it is naturally happening, doesn't matter. But the progress is happening to the level how well that we are capable of understanding these subtle defilements, like eye making, mind making, and all these different comparisons, and say certain other minor whatever the defilements. So each and every defilement, if we can recognize, very much like, they are very much hidden in the thoughts. So whenever a thought happens, so how it contains kind of a bait of the defilement. So if we can recognize that, then we can slowly discard that the thought, because we know, it's a kind of a deluding thought it is coming. So likewise, it's a matter of maintaining the pure state of mind as much as possible. So actually, the meditation, the progress happen not really in the meditation hall, but in the day-to-day activities. It has become a kind of a living meditation now. When you are interacting with various people with different characters, and at the office or, supermarket or whatever it is. So how, when we are interacting with others, how our mind behaves. Are we capable of maintaining the pure state of mind even irrespective of what they do? Or are we get disturbed? Are we get sort of upset? Are we get sort of angry or blissful or whatever it is? So that is where we need to be careful, or rather recognize the defilements. Yeah. So currently, I mean, is it what you do?
Yes, but at the same time, I could see my breath.
Right, right.
Even like let's say if I'm working and I feel like I'm tired, something I could see my automatically focus on my food.
Right.
But not on the ground.
Right, right. Yeah, good. I mean,
sometimes I could see the
sorry.
I could see the 5 fingers coming up.
Correct.
Sometimes I don't, and sometimes I can see it before reaction. But sometimes it's not all the time like perfectly.
So as much as possible, keep the mind very quiet. Free from any, proliferation, prapancha. I mean, don't allow the mind to talk again and again on various things. Keep the mind very quiet. Enjoy inner silence as much as possible. So it will help you to recognize various defilements. So, the prapancha, the mental proliferation, conceptual proliferation is one of the key things we need to reduce as we continue in the vipassana practice. So if we minimize that prapancha, minimize those conceptual proliferations, then the path will naturally evolve.
Earlier that we don't notice these things. We thought we notice.
Correct.
So, but now when we can see all those small things, sometimes it's kind of too much. Like kind of
that is where the practice happens. I mean, that is where the progress happens. That is why, now it is very much like water purification. Now, previously it's a kind of muddy water and filled with so many impure things. And so suppose that you are using a large hole strainer to remove that. Now what you have is small impurities. Now you use another strainer which is with small holes, and you remove that part as well. Now you have subtle impurities. Now what you need? A small small hole, very very refined kind of a strainer in order to purify that. Very similar. Pansuddhavaka Sutta. Yeah, exactly. Pansuddhavaka Sutta. So Buddha gives a very interesting simile in the Pansuddhavaka Sutta. Same thing. How you extract gold from the soil. Same thing. So it's very similar to our mental purification. At early stages, we only notice the gross defilements. As we improve, now we can recognize even the subtle defilements. So that indicates we are progressing. So it doesn't mean that we are arahant, so we are completely free from gross defilements. Time to time, they also can happen. But the capacity is available even to recognize subtle defilements. Good.
Bante yakku දැක්කට පස්සේ තමයි සෙන්ස් ලගේ හොඳ පේන්නේ.
එහෙනම්.
Next question. This is number 4, Bante.
Right.
And dear Bante, we are delighted to have you in Perth. We all join in this. Can you advise me to use the silence of the mind to improve my practice and experience it with ease? It's always in the background, even when I am speaking. May you be well and happy.
Exactly. I mean, it is quite relevant what we have just discussed. So this silence is available. So as we continue our practice, so you may recognize it's a kind of a available quality. So, I mean, now we can actually refer one sutta, this Pabassaramidam bhikkhave chittang panchako agantukehu pakkilesehu pakkiritta. So the mind is fairly pure, or how to say, Pabassara, bright, free from defilements. But this intruding defilements are the ones constantly very much making it impure. Now, once we recognize this pure state of mind, it's a matter of maximizing it. Just being in that as much as possible, try to live in that kind of a state. So as we live in that state, then these other various defilements, as we just discussed, you are easily can recognize, and slowly you have the capacity to remove them. Well, it's very much like maintaining that luminous mind. Maintaining luminous does not mean that you are kind of brighter, light, and all these things, but luminosity here means very pure, completely pure. It is not subjected to any kind of a defilement. Rather, it's like alvatura, the pure water. Like pure water. So pure water, the pure water is the best thing. You don't need to add sugar, it will cause diabetics. You don't need to add so many other things. So just maintain pure water. So mind is very much like that. So it's a matter of maintaining that. So more we maintain that, so more the subtle defilements are easily noticeable. Right. It's a long one. Very long one. Good.
ගරු ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ, දෙවැනි වාර්තාව ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමට අවශ්‍යයි. ඊයේ භාවනාව හා එක්ක දිගට ගලා යයි. එසේ වන්නේ සෑම විටම ඇතිවෙමින් නැතිවෙමින් සිදුවන චංචල ස්වභාවය සෑම අවදිමත් මොහොතකම දැනෙන නිසායි. ඊයේ හා අද දින පරිවේශනයක් ලෙස සක්මන වෙනස් ආකාරයක සිදු කරන විට පතුලේ ස්පර්ශය පොළොව මත ඇතිවන නැතිවන විලාසය දැකගත හැකි විය. ඒ ඔස්සේ ස්පර්ශ නිරෝධය ඉතා සුළුවෙන් දැනුනි. සමුදය විවිධාකාර වන නමුදු නිරෝධය ඉතා සැහැල්ලු සියුම්ය. ස්පර්ශය හා ස්පර්ශ නිරෝධය අතර ඉතා සුළු මොහොතක කිසිවක් නැති ස්වභාවයකි. පැයක් පමණ මේ පුහුණුව ගෙන ගිය අතර පසුව පුරුදු ස්වභාවය වන කම්පන චංචලයට අවධානය තීව්‍ර ලෙස ඉතිරි පැයක් පමණ කාලයක් ගෙවූ අතර පහත සඳහන් දෑ නිරීක්ෂණය විය. කම්පන චංචල ඉතා වේගවත්ව සිදුවන අතර සියල්ල එකම ධාරාවක් ලෙස ගලයි. මෙය අනිත්‍ය ස්වභාවය ඉතාමත් පැහැදිලිව පෙන්눔 කරයි. මෙහි ඇතිවන ඉතා සියුම්ව පටන් ගන්න පිළීමක් ඔස්සේ දුක්ඛ වේදනාවක්ද ඇති කරයි. දුක්ඛ වේදනාවේ තීව්‍රතාවය වෙනස් වන්නේ සිතේ ස්වභාවය අනුවය. කම්පනය හා බැඳී නැති බවත් මේ ශරීරය හා බැඳී ඇත්ද නැද්ද කියා සොයා ගැනීමටත් අපහසුය. ඊටමත් ලාවට මෙය අනාත්ම ස්වභාවය යුතු බව හැඟේ. මෙසේ භාවනාව දිගටම පැවතුනේ අනායාසයෙනි. සිත වෙන්ව පවතී. කම්පනයේද වෙන්ව පවතී. එකට එක්ක වැඩ කරයි. පැහැදිලි නෑ එතන. ඊට පසුව සිත ඉදිරිපත්ව එක එක යෝජනා කරන්නට යෙදුනි. කොහොම තමයි ජීවිතය. කොච්චර කළත් ඔච්චර තමයි. ආදී වශයෙන් ඒවා සිතේ මායාවන් බවද හඳුනාගෙන අතහැරෙන්න ඉඩ හැරිය. පසුව අප්‍රමාණ මෛත්‍රියක් සිත තුළ වැඩෙන්නට වී සියලු දෙනාටමත් සියලු සත්වයන්ටත් පරිසරයටත් ඊටමත් සුහද හැඟීම් ඇතිවීම සිත ඊටා ප්‍රබෝධමත් වී කලින් නොතිබී වීර්යයක් ඇතිව දිගටම සති සම්පජන්න පුරුදු වෙමින් කාලය ගත විය. සියලු දෙනාටත් පොදුවේ ලෝකයටත් මෛත්‍රී පතුරවන්නට හැකි විය. කලබලකාරී අසහනකාරී ජීවිතය වෙනස් වූවක් මෙනි. අප්‍රමාණ සතුටකින් මෛත්‍රියකින් සිත වෙලේ. මේ ජීවිතය පුරුදු කරන්නට ඔබ වහන්සේලා ඇතුළු මිතුරියන්ගෙන් සහයෝගය සිහියට නැගෙන විට අප්‍රමාණ ගෞරවයක් දැනේ. සැමට තෙරුවන් සරණින් භාවනා මාර්ගය දියුණු වී නිවන් සුව ලැබේවා. මෙත් සිතින්.
හොඳයි.
Very brief. ජීවිතේ භාවනාව the life is flowing together with the meditation. That happens rising and passing vibrations, because I always notice this rising and passing vibrations. Yesterday and today, as a research, I did the walking meditation in a different way. That way I was able to notice the feet contact when it touches the ground floor. That way, that way I was able to feel lightly the contact, the cessation of contact. Sparsha nirodha, cessation of contact. Even though the origin was diverse, the cessation was soft and light. Sahallu and Siyumi, the cessation was soft and light. Between the contact and contact cessation, there was a short period without any feeling. I practiced this for about 1 hour and paid attention to vibrations. During this process, following were observed. Vibrations were fast and felt like a continuous flow, like a stream. The nature of impermanence was clearly seen. This also gave rise to the suffering and the level of suffering or the seriousness of suffering feeling change according to the condition of the mind. Site swabhava anu dukkha vedanave tීව්‍රතාවය වෙනස් වේ. Company it was noticed that there was nothing connected to the vibration, and I could not say whether the vibration was related to the body. In a very basic state, I felt that this was due to the non-self nature. This way, the meditation was effortless. Anayase, effortless. The mind and the vibration existed independent of each other. However, it worked together. Then the question says, I started thinking this is how the life is. Whatever that I do, this will be the result. That type of philosophical thoughts is written here. Then I thought mind is a magician, the consciousness is a magician, and let that go. Then I was able to develop limitless loving kindness to all sentient beings and to the environment. As a result of that, very happy feelings arose in my mind, and the mind became very bright and, as Bhante used the word, luminous. And this gave rise to a previously unfelt energy, viriyak energy, I would say, to a mindful awareness. Sati Sampajanya arose, and I spent my rest of the time in mindful awareness. I was able to spread the loving kindness to the whole world in an equanimous way. I felt like the busy lifestyle changed
a change of the busy lifestyle. The mind was filled with unlimited happiness and loving kindness. I feel utterly grateful to you, Bante, and to all the Dhamma friends. I wish everyone the Triple Gems blessings and the supreme bliss of Nibbana.
Right. May I know how the living the Hare. Hare. මේ ඕම් කරගෙන යන්න ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. මට හිතෙනවා මේ ඔතන අපි දැන් එක්ස්පෙරිමන්ට් කරන්න යන්න එතකොට දැන් හිත මුකුත් ඇසුරු නොකරන ස්වභාවය තුළ පවත්වන්න බැරිද තාම? එහෙනම් ඇයි එක්ස්පෙරිමන්ට් කරන්නේ? ඕන එකක්.
It kind of sometimes becomes boring.
Yeah.
And
though at that time you are doing experiments.
Yes. And then I thought I'll do experiment, then I have Bante to ask.
No, thing is now experiment mean a sankhara. Yeah. I mean, rather than minimizing sankhara, you are promoting sankhara.
I think my real life is that flow of continuous vibration.
Yeah.
Anytime until I go to sleep, I'm there.
So, that's the thing. Now, vibrations are there. Now, as a result of understanding them, observing them, if mind is now capable of letting go that and just become, unassociated and we just discuss without clinging to anything, if mind is capable of doing that, true, it is boring, but we have to familiarize with that boredom. Otherwise, again and again, when we reach there, we do more sankhara.
I have been with this sensation for quite a long time.
Sensations. Yeah. Now you don't need to, that's why, now you don't need to observe those sensations. You can simply observe your mind. Right. No, thing is, now when you are observing your mind, suppose there are thoughts are happening. Now thoughts are coming and going. Aren't you feel any kind of absence of thoughts? Okay, then just be there. That's all. What do you need further? Now suppose you get a thought related to some activity that you did. Say yesterday you helped someone and some thought happens regarding that activity. Now, why are you connecting that to a vibration? So why you connect that? No need. No, the thought is the one important. No, I mean thought represents some kind of a connection between raga, dosa, moha. If it is sometimes, not every time. But I mean, if it is connected to raga, dosa, moha, you just eliminate that raga, dosa, moha. You don't need to connect it to vibration now. I feel is too much. I mean, it's too much of I don't know. Now, thing is, I mean, the main concern is to purify the mind. Yeah. So now there may be connectivity between the thoughts and the body. Definitely it is there. But now you can deal with the mental part more importantly than now finding out all these connections between the body and the mind. Now you can therefore look at what are the thoughts happening and why, what are the subtle defilements available in those thoughts, whether there is I-making, my-makings are there, then slowly let them go and keep the mind quiet. That's enough.
Even though those come like that, I know it's a thought, but at the time, but even through the thought, I feel the vibration. I'm not connecting it.
Yeah, I mean, let it be. Yeah, now say for example, when thoughts are there, if you look at breathing, is breathing available?
If
Yeah. Now say your mind has thoughts, at that time, suppose that you are looking at thoughts. Now, if you look at, instead of thoughts, if you look at breathing, is breathing available within the body? No? Then you are dying. No, that's the thing. Now, if you ignore thoughts, then, if you look at breathing is also available. Similarly, vibrations are also available because this body is living. But now, no need to look at them. That's my argument. So when we are going to Chittanupassana, it doesn't mean that the whole body has disappeared. At the early stages, it is how it may be happening. Because in order to recognize that, so it's very much like you are calming down the body, calming down the feelings. Now you allow yourself to be aware of thoughts. So that's maybe the way it is happening. But later, you can do Chittanupassana while walking and while doing various other things. So you are capable of doing that. You don't need to go to deeper concentrations to do Chittanupassana. So it doesn't mean that the body can't feel anything, or body doesn't have any feelings, or doesn't have any vibrations or breathing or whatever it is. But we are not concerned about it. We are concerned about thoughts, because here the importance is given to the Chittanupassana and Dhammanupassana, where you are trying to recognize subtle defilements available in the mind and slowly overcoming them. So, too much investigation also not necessary. Yeah. It becomes more strenuous then. Just relax. Just enjoy. Oh, we think තමයි. Oh, patola, pipinya, bandaka, white bread. But anyway, you don't need to think in that sense, because it doesn't mean that you become a completely passive, kind of defeated kind of a character. So, even when, say, mind is empty, still you feel kind of a composed, a contented way. The emptiness does not mean you become corrupt, bankrupt. It's a kind of a rich emptiness. So your mind is free from defilements, free from stress, free from any object, free from any grasping, and free from eye-making, mind-making, free from delusion. So it is empty. So that's why Buddha sometimes say that I mostly in emptiness. I dwell in emptiness. Sunyato viharati. So likewise, so he promotes being in emptiness. So, rather than we trying to be there, if we are trying to again and again do various sankhara, various other things, investigations, and investigations are necessary. We already emphasized that. But when we come to that non-attached state, so it's a matter of maximizing it. And there are various suttas Buddha encourage that. Just maintain that freedom of the mind, and as much as possible. Then it has to become more and more natural, rather than you say with a lot of effort maintaining that. So it's there, something like that. One can say, it's there. Vibrations attached to Rupa Upadana Skandha. Yeah.
So in that way, if we aim to get
no, if you are now, what is going and grasping? It is your mind. It is a mind going and grasping. Now, if your mind is free, then it is free from Upadana. So we are analyzing all these Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana. So all these 5 aggregates, in order to free the mind from all different kinds of upadana. So when the mind is free from upadana, so now they are no more clinging aggregates. They are mere aggregates. Previously we refer them as Rupa Upadana Khandha. But now they are mere aggregate. Sometimes Buddha refers the term Shuddha Sankhara, pure formations. You are not doing any kind of your own, say, manipulations to them. So various bodily phenomena are happening and they are simply going. A thought happens, but you are not adding to it, it's going. Say, a perception happen, a sign happen, you are not adding to it, you are not doing any kind of formations to it, you are not fabricating it, it's going. So formations are happening, sankharas are happening, but there is no your contribution. So that is the state that we are targeting like. So it is not that we are destroying all these upadana, rather the aggregates, they are there, but there is no my involvement to that. There is no the mind's involvement to that, or the grasping to that. So then they become kind of a pure formations, pure sankhara. There is an interesting verse available in the Adimutta Samanera. It's a very interesting story. How many questions more? Just one, right? One, right. So, yeah. So there is, this Adimutta Samanera is one arahant, and he was traveling in the forest, and while he was traveling, he was caught by bandits, and he was now taken to kill. So, the group of bandits, the thieves, and they have captured this Adimutta Samanera, and now he was being taken to kill. At that time, the chief of the gang, so he has seen kind of a difference in this person. So previously, when they captured a person and taken to kill, they are asking for mercy and they want to go back, they want to run away, they are pleading. But this person not asking anything, and he just coming, and then the chief is asking, I am noticing kind of a difference in you, and how are you maintaining this kind of a very calm, quiet, untroubled kind of a nature? And he says, Suddha Sankhara Punjoyang. So this body, mind are just pure sankhara. So you are whatever you like, you can do it. I don't mind. So he see that things are like, tinakatta samang lokam, jada panyaya passati. So I see all this world as like, pieces of wood and this grass and all these things. I don't see any value to them. Tinakatta samang lokam, jada panyaya passati, asam bindang. So I can't remember those very, very interesting verses are there. So this is Theragata in Adimutta Theragata. So there the one statement is mentioned. So this is mere Shuddha Sankhara. Punja means a packet of pure formations. Now he's an arahant, of course. So he sees things as pure formations. That's all. And there is no his own private contribution to that. He's not personifying anything. He's not changing anything. He's not participating into any changes. He simply allows things to come and go. That's all. And therefore the practice also has to lead in that direction. It is not that we always have to strive. It's not the thing. So when you are able to maintain kind of an ungrasping mind, just try to dwell in that. Just try to be there and just try to experience that. And I would say just enjoy the inner silence. More than enough. The thing is, for us, we feel like it's not enough. Something more is necessary to take home. Tanha. Tanha again, then okay, so Buddha, in many different ways, Buddha has explained. Now, we all have a kind of a quest, always searching. So when you reach, now for the arahant, Buddha mentioned, so when one becomes an arahant, that quest has ceased. So that it is necessary to search, it is necessary to investigate. But when more and more your mind is free, so just dwell in that freedom. So otherwise, it's a continuous striving, continuous effort or struggle actually. Yes, struggle. Not necessary. Only the time you need to interrupt is because it doesn't mean that you are an arahant. You still may have defilements. But how these defilements will come up, that is when you are dealing with others and when things are happening in your life, then these defilements further comes out. And then you are capable of noticing them. And then slowly overcome them. So therefore it becomes kind of a smooth practice rather than a strenuous practice. Right. Correct. 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 Right.
Then I thought I can experiment with my food. What happened was I couldn't understand the contact, but I understood the weight and feeling of it.
That's too much. No, so many things are there. No, I mean, we don't need to be a Buddha. So Buddha has done the full experiment and he has given so many paths available. Okay, I am just a follower. Okay, little bit is enough for me. I'm happy with that. Sure. 5 minutes.
That's what I understood. I don't know whether that's correct. That's why she's enjoying it, and that's why she's having a vaccine for her. So she was trying to ask you to give her a remedy. That's what she was trying to.
So she already has the remedy. So while keeping the remedy, she's looking at various medicines, other things already available. Experience the remedy. That's why I just directed, because I know her and she talked to me couple of times. That's why.
That's how I understood it. So she's trying to become like the lady behind, and I also have the same as the lady behind. That the breathing comes in the foreground. Whatever I do, very subtly there somehow. And for her, it's a vibration. So we have, I use the breath aside. I don't bother, but it's so subtle, but it's there all the time. And the lady behind it is the same thing. Her problem is the vibration, but again, my system is a different thing related to that. Because you said not to go into the analysis and all, but then yesterday,
yeah, that's why. That's what I mentioned. I have emphasized enough about investigation.
Yes.
So yesterday and today also I emphasized that enough. But when, as a result of investigation, the result of investigation is the freedom of the mind. So once you reach the freedom of mind, now it is yogi's responsibility to dwell in emptiness, dwell in this freedom, rather than go back and investigate. So the investigation is the one produce this freedom. So till this freedom happens, you must do the investigation. So that's the point. So it's a must to do investigation till you come to this understanding. So because of the understanding, mind automatically opens up and comes to the freedom. And once freedom is there, we need to live in that. We need to familiarize with that. So why but the problem is it is boring. So rather than in this freedom that like this just pure water, now you go and again add so many things. You are doing sankhara. Now this is sankhara. Sankhara skandha invites more and more your contribution, more and more your fabrication, more and more doing is there. Now rather than doing, you just be. You need to shift your, the attitude. Rather than doing, just be. So when are you going to be? When are you going to become a human being? Rather than human doing. So that's the point. So sometimes it's contradicting. When I am talking about the investigation, yes, it's necessary to one yogi who is there to to develop that wisdom. But another person, to some extent, has developed that wisdom, and as a result of that, is capable of enjoying the freedom. And now it's a matter of enjoying the freedom and being in that freedom. Now more and more allowing the mind to investigate various subtle defilements. So it is not that we completely get out of the investigation. Now the investigation happens at a different level. Not at the vibration level, but rather in a more, recognizing very subtle defilement level. So that is more encouraged at this level rather than you continuously see the vibrations.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
But what I'm now talking in general, because we are all here, we are sitting on an effort and everybody here is doing the same thing. And, but nobody is like another house or whatever.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, it's penetrative knowledge that we want to go forward and we come in this place all the time about it. We want to just hear one step forward. So that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, not in the meditation, but even in the sitting, how do we get this penetrative knowledge to go one step forward?
Yeah, no, that's right. It may naturally happen. No, you may start with physical phenomena, so physical vibrations, and with that you develop some amount of penetrative knowledge, and then you investigate various feelings, and as a result of that you are furthering your investigative knowledge, this penetrative knowledge, and say now you investigate various thoughts. So that is further, enhancing your this penetrative knowledge. So it's a kind of a continuation. Yeah, why not? Huh? Yeah, going forward. We haven't stopped. The retreat is continuing. Yeah. So the life become a retreat. It is not. It's not that you complete everything within a retreat, but your meditation becomes a life. It's connected to the life. So it's a retreat is a place, a time for you to encourage yourself and firmly establish there. And later, it is not that it is not a must for you to become in a retreat. While at home, while in the supermarket, while traveling, while doing various other things, you have to practice. So don't expect that everything happen within the retreat. Good. Okay, we go to the next section. Yeah, last one.
Thank you, Bhante. Dear Venerable Bhante, I practice Anapanasati meditation. I do not have a meditation teacher to guide me. About 5 years ago, I was able to go to a still state. This might be samadhi.
Sorry, what state? Still state. Still state.
Still state. This might be samadhi. My mind first focused on breathing, but then there is nothing to focus, no holding on to. Experience kind of emptiness experience kind of emptiness. With that, I felt unusual happiness and a very comfortable feeling. Those days, nothing tends to bother me. I normally meditate early morning, and this happens is there with me thoughts throughout the day. It happens throughout the day. For some reason, since last 4 years, I have lost it. No matter how hard I try, that state of mind is not there anymore. Now when I meditate, I go into a sleepy mode, drowsy feeling, but still I am aware of the rhythm of my breathing. Comparing with the previous state of mind, now I become sad, but then I remind myself about impermanence or anitya. I have begun to like being alone at home, listening to the wind, rustling of the leaves, and enjoy watching over my mind. Even when I am out with friends, after a while, after a while wanting to go back home to be with myself. Time to time I practice Pilikul Bhavana. Now I have realized I do not have much attachment I used to have towards my family, but keep doing my duties as a good mother and a wife with metta. Your advice on my journey would be greatly appreciated. Also, I would like to stay anonymous. Sorry. Everyone Saranai. I might just say that Pilikul Bhavana is meditation of unattractiveness, foulness. So this one is...
Yeah. Okay. I think the thing is, the previous stage when you are practicing, this yogi is practicing Anapanasati, most probably that she has gone to a kind of a blissful state of samatha and maybe a deeper concentration. It is so blissful and she has experienced that, but later somehow it has gone. Now trying differently. Now if you are expecting that, no point of, that mere expectation itself can become a hindrance. So that is one thing. And the other thing is, no need to do Pilikul Bhavana, this loathsomeness of the body. Now actually I recommend you to get into Vipassana. Say you do some walking practice, you do, as we discussed, say rising and falling practice. So these things help you to develop more into mindfulness side, more into clear comprehension side, and develop more into the Vipassana side. Rather than, hang on to that blissful state, blissful experience that you had several years ago, that is gone. That's no need to be craving to that, have any kind of craving to that. Just investigate a different side. So many other opportunities are there. And rather than clinging to that previous state, now try a different thing. So therefore, try to develop mindfulness while walking. Try to develop mindfulness. While sitting, how recognize rising and falling of the abdomen, how they are evolving and what are the changes. So likewise, give some emphasis to investigation and then continue the practice. Yeah. Okay, I think we have spent. Yeah.
I guess that noble silence thing was from me. Can you explain the difference between silence and noble silence? And the need for noble silence in a retreat situation, because it's, I don't think people understand, because I know once somebody said, look, I have been to so many sale programs and this has never been mentioned. Can you just say something so that people understand why we advocating noble silence and what this silence, why and what exactly it is?
Now, in the pristine sense, noble silence, we can say even your mouth is shut, your mind also is not talking. Say one can keep the mouth shut, but internally so much of talking going on and on. So that doesn't mean the proper noble silence. So proper noble silence means, say you are quiet externally as well as internally. But we can't immediately achieve that. So what we start with is the external silence. So we are not disturbing others. We are not too much talking. And here at the retreat situation, as much as possible, we are maintaining this silence. Because, external too much talking agitate the mind. That we need to understand. If you are talking with another person, that the other person also get disturbed and you yourself agitates your mind. And as a result of that, once you sit, you may get so many thoughts, so many distractions. So therefore, in a retreat situation, so maintaining noble silence is utterly important. And later, now say, if you are developed to fair amount of vipassana, then you recognize what we talk here as the inner silence. So how to maintain inner silence? When you are not talking physically, is your mind talking? Can you keep your mind also quiet? So that is a very interesting area for you to investigate. Maintaining inner silence and enjoying that inner silence. So how about looking at outside? Now we have some far sight. So you are looking at far sight with inner silence, without any inner commentary. So enjoy that kind of these are different dimensions of the meditation. So, I mean, you can enjoy environment without generating any defilement. So, these thoughts represent defilements. So, without thoughts, that means mind is very calm, quiet, but you still can see things. But you are not making any I, person, me. You are not adding anything. So you are not fabricating anything. You are just enjoying. That's it. That's all. So these are very interesting areas of meditation, particularly Vipassana. So, I mean, you actually can investigate those areas. So you know, this Venerable Mahakassapa, he being the supreme in the Dhutangas, you know, austere practices. He is the Arahant. He says, so he see during the night time, while in his cave, these fireflies are, you know, during the night time, they are flying. And he says it's a really beautiful picture to see in the Theragatha. So, I mean, these Arahants have enjoyed the environment. I mean, you can't say that they become attached to that or delighted with that, but they are human beings and they have enjoyed that freedom. So likewise, we as human beings, this nature and everything has the capacity to give us some kind of calmness, happiness, and we don't need to reject that. But in order to experience that, better we become silent. So rather than adding so much of things, you know, I mean, when you are with another person, don't talk. Just be with yourself. It is, I mean, when you are talking, how about the other person is trying to enjoy that inner silence? And if you are talking, then other person also get disturbed. So therefore, I mean, there are many things if we add here. Now, in the retreat environment, therefore, I mean, as she mentioned, so it is a must to maintain that silence. So I encourage you to maintain external silence as well as internal silence. Okay, with that.
Bhante, there is another request, not a question. Sorry. But dear Bhante, can you please leave us the Zoom links for all your programs? I know the one on Wednesday and Sunday. Thank you, Theruvan Saranai. Maybe we can put it on the board or something.
Yeah. Okay. Probably I can, because there's one PDF file which has all these links mentioned. Probably I can pass it to maybe Percy, and then you can request that from him. And a couple of programs actually we are conducting through the Zoom. Actually, some organizers request me to inform that. Sunday there are 2 programs starting Sri Lanka. I am referring Sri Lanka time, 7 a.m. Sunday Dhamma sermon. We take 1 hour to explain a sutta or kind of a teaching, and then 1 hour Dhamma discussion. And then mindfulness for young adults session, that is in the evening, 1 p.m. And on Wednesdays, Sutta teaching session that starts at 7 a.m. And every last Saturday, we have the clarity of mind through mindfulness session every last Saturday of the month. Yeah. So those are the programs we conduct through Zoom. And I will give the links to Mr. Percy, and whoever interested can collect from him. Okay, thank you very much for participation, and we'll conclude Dhamma discussion here. Thank you.